All right, ladies and gentlemen, where we're at right now is that I am looking to kind of get to the last little part over here. On the last session, what I did is I did the nose, and I know that there was just a question before about trying to get, like, blending it in, having a hard time of blending it in here. Well, realize when you watch the old video that I use an extra piece of clay, and just for the purposes of what we're doing over here, we really don't have to blend in right underneath here. You see how you can still see sort of the crease? And underneath here, how you can still sort of see the crease of the clay. That's all fine. I even kind of came in with the point of my wooden tool and sort of scratched in this little edge over there. That's perfectly fine on the underneath. I don't expect you to be able to get it in there and really mush that out. But by adding that extra piece in here, you create a little part of the cheek of the face that sort of sweeps in from the bridge of the nose into the cheekbone. It also gives us another little crease underneath our eyelid, which again is something that we probably need anyway, which should sort of make it work out a little bit easier for you. So we have all our features. We are, for intensive purposes, the hard part is over. What we want to do now is we kind of want to finish out this face and just kind of finish up covering up some of these bottom areas and top areas. And for me, since I am trying to make a little kid, I want to puff the cheeks out a little bit more. So this is a period of time when, if you still have clay and you still have some unused clay, which I think you should, feel free to use it, but you can also sort of mush up and mash up our practice ones. You don't need to keep those. A lot of good clay over there that's going to sit for no reason, unless you want to keep unless you are particularly proud of your practices. Otherwise, what I tell you is that we should be able to recycle those. So I'm going to take a healthy chunk of clay right over here. Probably, I would say, enough to make 2/4 size balls. All right, and I'm going to start making my little meatballs again. Sort of mush them together, sort of make sure that they have, again, any sort of folds or any sort of creases, try to smooth them out with my finger. And then again, just round them off. Approximately quarter-sized little meatballs. Do the other one. Again, we're going to use one for each side. And we can always add more after the fact, but I want to kind of build a little bit off of that. So I'm going to put that together. I'm going to clamp it down, smoothing out any of those cracks. I'm going to compare. The second one I made is just a little bit bigger. I'll take a little material off of that one, kind of shrink it down. Again, if you start off with equal pieces for each side, you should be pretty good as far as symmetry goes. The biggest problem people might have is that if you start off with, like, I put too much clay on one side and not enough on the other, then you start getting things where one side is inevitably going to look bigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple little meatballs. Again, nice big ones, size of a quarter. And these are going to be the starts of my cheeks. And what I want to do is I kind of want to start flattening them out a little bit. I can kind of press down over here, and I'm not going to make it super flat, but what I want to do is I kind of want to mush them into a shape. And that shape would kind of start to be looking like a teardrop. Now you can see, like, got that sort of pinched in top and nice and round bottom. I'm going to try to make both sides around the same time, so that way I can really work on keeping them approximately the same size. I'll start pinching that one off a little bit, making it a little bit more sharp on the ends. And nice healthy size pieces, flattening them out so they're flat on one side, pinched on the other. All right, this one's still a little bit on the big side, so I'm going to, again, take material off of it and work to try to keep the size of the materials that I'm working with relatively the same. All right, so I'm making my sort of teardrop, I don't know, they look like lungs almost, I guess, flat on one side, rounded on the other, sort of smooth. And these are going to kind of fill in my the cheeks that I want to put on this little baby over there. They look really, really big now, but I'm going to flatten them out a little bit and kind of work them into the face just a little bit more. So what I want though is I want to create a little bit of a depth from the upper lip to the cheek. Like we have a little crease here, a little smile line, a little laugh line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one, and what I'm going to do is I'm really going to sort of thin out that front part of it a little bit more, okay, to try to get it so it doesn't pop out too much, but that I do get a nice smooth little crease over there. So you see me what I'm doing? I'm sort of pinching this end out just a little bit more, just like that connective piece that I made for the nose in our last video. We want to have that sort of thin piece that kind of easily mushes into the face and also sets up our little cheek over here. Now again, I'm going to make a real puffy cheek. These babies have nice and fluffy little faces. And I'm going to kind of push that in there. I'm going to work on the other one. Again, I'm sort of thinning this thing out, sort of pinching it so this end is thinner. A bit longer, the sort of fat part of that is further out. It's a little bit thinner. And then I'm going to play with it a little bit and just see how it fits. All right. See how it fits in here. I'll press it in, see that I kind of have a similar look on each side. And again, I'm looking to make a nice chubby baby. I want to put big cheeks on this baby. I'm going to put a little double chin on her too. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to sort of form these things around the face to kind of create this little ridge and this little area in here. This little like raised part underneath there. And I don't have to blend it out completely, but you do want to kind of get in there a little bit and just kind of smooth it out just a little bit. All right, and it's okay in and around the nose. If you do have a little bit of a crease in there, that's okay. You see in real life you do as well. Now I'm just going to kind of push this piece in and around face a little bit. I'm going to look to over here by where it's in by the nose. Again, just try to sweep that into the nose and get rid of any sort of edge or line that you see the best you can. And around that edge of the nose right there, you don't have to blend that in. You can even get in there with your tool and you can kind of just ever so slightly make an edge out of that. Here, I don't want to have that crease, so I'm going to start blending this in. For the rest of the cheek that I've already made. And because this is what I'm going for, is a kind of like a baby's kind of face, I don't really want to have any lumps or bumps, so I'm going to spend a little time kind of smoothing that out. You can see, and then kind of sweeping that edge in. You can kind of see what one finished side looks like versus the side that I just stuck on. This one I've sort of blended in almost everywhere. The other side still hasn't gone over there. Kind of made it so it's just a little indent and bump. You see how the cheek sort of pops out right over there. I sort of smoothed out that crease, which is perfectly fine. The crease right in there I've left pretty much alone. And again, I'm going to grab my little wooden tool and I can kind of come in here if I need to. I would use the pointed side, obviously, and you can kind of clean up a little bit of that. I'm going to leave a little edge in there. All right, so I got that a little dent in my chin. I'm going to fix that while I'm here, and then I'm going to start working on the other side again. Right in here, I'm going to just sweep this into the bridge of the nose. Just dragging your finger over it should be able to sort of wipe away the edge that you had over there. This right in here is totally fine. You can leave that little crease around the nostril. You can get in there and kind of just try to push that in. Blend that in. This part right over here, you can see where the new piece I put in, where the old piece was. That's okay. We usually have a little bump and a little ridge there. And we can kind of blend those things together, get them into one sort of thing, so there are a little sort of like edges and bumps. And then again, you can kind of like reshaping that cheek, trying to maintain a certain level of symmetry. I see that this side's a little lumpier, so I'm going to press it in just a little bit more. Try to get rid of any little imperfections that I see, and really kind of work this side in a little bit. Still a little bit on the lumpy side. Look at it from different angles. I'm going to flatten that out just a little bit. We get some chubby cheeks on my little baby. And I don't know, my little baby, she's porking up nicely, so she's got a little bit of a double chin. So I'll grab some other used clay. Okay, make another little, mash it into a ball. Nice big piece. I'll sort of trim it down after the fact. This would be bigger, much bigger than the our sort of quarter, but at this point we're just kind of filling in areas. And since I have some area at the bottom here I want to fill in, I'm gonna want to take a little bit more clay. Again, I like to start off with the ball so I know it doesn't have any creaks, cracks, or folds in it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start pinching out a little bit of a round ovalish mound. Kind of see how it fits and where it fits. And I'm just going to kind of keep bending it and try to make a piece that's going to fit in underneath here, to fit in underneath this sort of little chubby gobbler, and that's going to kind of fill that in. And then I'll try to sweep that in to my cheeks, blend that in. I'll find that connective tissue, basically, and you can leave a little bit of a ridge here between that and my little chin. I'm not going to completely blend it away. I'm going to try to get rid of little lumps and things as I'm seeing them. I'll work on the other side too. Go from different angles and mess around with it. I feel like when I look at mine, I see it's a little plumper here and a little less there. This is a point where we can just grab a little extra clay, grab pieces and start adding on. Try to keep things the same on both sides. So just grab a little scrap piece of clay and start trying to just build a little bit, or you might have to play around with it a little bit, add a little bit here, add a little bit there to get it to where you want it. Smooth things out. There's some imperfections down there. Grab some of those rando little pieces of clay and just fill in the blank wherever you might have a little bit of unfinished area. A scary little baby look. And you spend a lot of time playing around with smoothing things out and messing around with getting just the right sort of look. You can make these cheeks puffier or smaller as you want. See, I've kind of worked on a little bit of the chin of the jaw, a little fat face. And then really the rest of it is just about filling in the top of this head over here. You could take all the sort of random sort of extra clay that you have. There's not going to be much of a science to this other than don't make it too thin. But you could just sort of lump some on over here and use some little scrap pieces to sort of fill in the blanks, and then it's going to be a lot of little bits of smoothing as we work our way around. So what I'm going to do is I'm really going to take a lot of my scrap pieces, things that I use for the other practices and stuff like that, and I'm just going to kind of fill in the blanks to start with on the head and just kind of close up and cover up all my clay, my foil first. I'll get some pieces to sort of get on there, and good place to reuse stuff, especially if you don't want to keep your practices, which you don't need to. I've already seen them with your pictures. And then I would just take whatever I have and then try to sort of cover up whatever empty foil areas you see. And then once I have a sort of cap on there, I'm going to start messing around, and this will take you a little while. Still a lot of things to play around and smoothing out. Plenty of things to do over here. But when I lay this down on the table, once I'm done with this, I shouldn't see any of the foil. I shouldn't really see any of the under stuff, even if I look from the bottom side. So things like this, I'll fill all that stuff in. So when I look at it from the table, I can see it's all still down there. And don't worry about adding too much or too little forehead, especially on this sort of like a scary little baby sculpture. Babies' faces tend to be in the lower part of the head. So if they have a lot of forehead, a lot of top of the head, that's totally fine. You just want to kind of avoid it from being too sort of lumpy or just odd in terms of overall shape. But for anybody who's had a little baby brother or sister, you know when they're first born, their heads are really sort of like weird looking. So that can all work too. I figured instead of trying to make it a portrait that looks like someone, we can work on trying to make just the face. And I thought a child's face has some sort of weird proportions to it. And some babies look, not my baby, but some babies look like little old men anyway. So I figured that would all work out for us. So you can see what I'm doing is I'm smoothing out what I have on the forehead. Probably take me another 5-10 minutes of smoothing it out, adding a little bit more clay, messing around with it. But ultimately what we want to get is a nice even coat of clay on the top over here that all just fills in our foil and gives us a nice finished little baby face. We're not going to add ears to it. I didn't really make mine deep enough for ears, but to keep it just to the face. I have a lot of work here smoothing out these pieces and everything else like that, but we also have 5 more days to work on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video here. I'm going to just continue to work so the video doesn't go on forever and ever, and then I'm going to post pictures of my totally finished, totally done face. Right, so we're almost there. Still have a lot of bumps to kind of work out on the head, a lot of little things to sort of finish up. But you see my little baby face has popped up. You can always mess around with some of the things on the face. You can make the cheeks fatter, the chin longer, shorter, smaller, beyond the jaw, everything else like that. But we want to kind of come up with our little finished face that represents the final project for this course. And I hope that for those of you who are sculpting, you've enjoyed this. If you haven't, whatever. But if you have, that's cool too. We have until the end of next Thursday to submit photos of this. and I'll submit an assignment for the absolute finished one, but I do want to see a lot of pictures from a lot of different angles of this. Nice clear pictures. You don't have to bake this thing, but you can if you want to keep it, if you are happy with what the results were. Now, I can't promise you that this won't crack in the oven. There's always a chance that it might crack in the oven. That's always there. But if you do end up wanting to bake this thing and make it a hard plastic and keep it, the foil is the reason why we made the backing with foil and not with paper or anything else that might burn up. So that will be fine. The foil kind of heats up too, so we don't want to overcook it. I'll put all kinds of baking instructions up on our website just so you can see on Teams what to do if you do decide to do that. So this is me almost done. I'm going to work on her a little bit, kind of get it just exactly the way I want it, and you can have some fun with that as far as your finishing touches. But we want to have a nice round, even head. And again, I would use all my scrap pieces in trying to assemble that. And you might have some clay left over. If you do, great. It's a gift from me to you. If you don't, that's fine too. So end that right here, and we'll pick this up with the final product on Teams probably tomorrow.